No, the AI boom is not the dot-com bubble all over again. But that doesn't mean the industry won't experience some growing pains from time to time. From concerns about national security to the potential for thriftier AI budgets in corporate America, the sector's top companies are navigating new challenges here in mid-2026. That's why I'm very pleased to be bringing a new expert onto the Money Show Money Masters podcast this week. A tech and AI sector specialist, he has decades of first-hand Silicon Valley experience, including during the late 1990s tech boom and bust. He does not think we're in for another bubble bust cycle. Instead, he believes AI is revolutionizing the technology, healthcare, finance, and energy industries, and that businesses and investors need to educate themselves to stay one step ahead of the many fast-moving developments out there. He's Sydney Armani, chairman and CEO of AI FinTech World Group, and I'm excited to welcome him to the show today. Today, I'm glad we're able to catch up for this podcast episode. We've certainly crossed paths and talked markets and AI technology at live events. But for someone who hasn't had a chance to see you at one of our conferences or won't be able to potentially make the San Francisco one you're going to be speaking at, tell me a little bit about your background. Explain how you got into this business and just sort of where your big picture view is of the AI industry at this point in time.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for you to having me at the Money Show. I'm a very big fan myself. Before I'm being participate, and yes, we're going to be also in Las Vegas in July 19th through a couple of days, and then San Francisco. But I'm looking forward to it. But back to your question is that I've been in Silicon Valley since the early days of 1997, the heydays of the Silicon Valley. You go to the Motel 6 was $400 a night. So because everybody, I'm not kidding. This is in 1997. So everybody come in Silicon Valley. There were .com. There were, but my background is in infrastructure. I'm engineer by the trade, so I know what's behind the scene is going on. And then applications. Same thing with Then through the years I lived in Silicon Valley. I was in the San Francisco Bay Area, Palo Alto, Stanford, but also in New York. So I know about old money, stock market money, Wall Street money, and also, the new, which is right now the big, is not new, like Anderson Hartwig and Sequoia Capital. So there's a lot of things going on in Silicon Valley, but this time around is different, basically. This is a new AI revolution. It's just a whole different.
And I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to ask anyway, your thoughts on parallels, differences. It sounds like you kind of, there are some people that will say, oh, this is just .com all over again. You certainly seem to be on the other side of that debate. Can you explain for our viewers why you think it's different, what some of the big changes are between what you saw in the late 1990s and what we're seeing here in the 2020s?
No, that's a great question, Mike. No, I saw that because at that time, technology was just new. A lot of people, we call it in Silicon Valley, spray and pray. One of those people will make it. Some of them didn't make it, but everybody don't know that before Google, there was Alta Vista. What is Alta Vista? So it's a lot of company and newcomers, but there are other things showing on. So different is this time around, they build a lot of infrastructures then for the fiber optics and that other things, basically in technical, but nothing was going on. Obviously, it's worth it right now because all those fiber optics, but it was too early. Some of the stuff it's too early, basically. And now this time around, they're building all these data centers and all things, but which we need it. This is different right now with the AI.
And let's talk about that. The amount of money, effort, time being put into data center construction, grid construction, all of these things that go into making the AI industry work seems phenomenal. The totals, the numbers are phenomenal. So talk a little bit about all of this investment. What are your thoughts on how productive these investments are ultimately going to turn out to be? And what are your thoughts on the timetable to get all of this infrastructure in place?
This is what's going on right now. The whole industry is like back in old days of the gold. It's a picks and shovel. Yes, there is infrastructure, building the data center and other things, but who build the electricity over there? Who the energy, the construction, chips, other thing is going on, fiber optics. There's a lot of things going on behind the scene that it's not only the chip and all this LLM, basically. There are other things that we can benefit. And there are companies. For example, there's a company we all know is 3M. 3M is cooling the chips actually inside of the data center. So it's a lot. You have to look around as far as investment, as far as the picks and shovel. Now, The gold mine is gone, but we're still wearing that jeans, and Levi's. It came from those era. So we have to look around what's going on basically in around this. But this revolution, it is a revolution, is here to stay. It's going to affect a lot of lives. And so we have to get ourselves ready, especially educating ourselves to
Got
that.
it. Let's talk about some of the use cases and the things you're seeing in terms of businesses incorporating AI into what they do. What are some of the most interesting things that you've seen? I know at some of our events you've talked, for example, how AI is being used in the healthcare space.
That's I had experienced that. This is a personal experience. A couple of years ago, I was actually diagnosed with a cancer, which is I find out I'm a cancer free, by the way, right now. But a couple of years ago in 2023, when the chat GPT showed up, I was diagnosed. So it really helped me to find out. Obviously, the doctor's important. You got to go with that. I'm not suggesting that's very important that you need to come to, but it will give you knowledge when you go to sitting in a doctor's office to know what's going on, to know what's happening to your body. And I saw that as far as of healthcare and AI and diagnosis, it's number one. There are companies, actually, I'm not giving any kind of advice, stock advice, but like Open Evidence, Try Discovery, and some other ones that they're using the AI's algorithm to diagnose better. I really believe if we keep ourselves alive in the next 5 years, we're going to have extend our life another 10 years because AI will find cancer in stage 0. That's going to what happens. So I'm very big about healthcare. Obviously, I have a personal interest, but this is what's helping over here. So I'm very much into that AI. I believe in AI in healthcare.
Got it. Understood. Any other industries that stand out? I certainly, as a financial markets student and analyst, I certainly see a lot of ways that AI is being incorporated into trading technology, into institutional investing, and so on. I'm curious if you had to name another industry or two that are really being revolutionized by it, what would you put at the top of your list?
Yeah, energy, because we're a lack of greed. We have to make sure this data center, which they're building, and there's a lot of investment going on these data centers, different places, but the energy, how to feed it, you can't go to a small town. I mean, and that there's obstacle about that. They decided to have energy to that data center. So whatever we get the energy done, and there are companies actually out there, Colo, that they make these boxes actually like a Volkswagen, but get energy. So that's very important for these industry to have energy and cooling system for that. And they got to be cool over there. And obviously the land, other thing, geothermal. That's another thing I've seen, been to your show, Money Show, see a lot of old people who discover oil and other, but geothermal is another way of giving energy to this data center. So that's what excitement. It's just the beginning. We're in just the third inning of the whole enchilada. We're in the seventh inning. We need to still have just pop the popcorn, drink a little beer and wake shoot and see what's going on basically. So that's
Got it. Got
my
it.
industry.
Absolutely. I want to talk about some of the models and the competition that's out there. Everybody knows the Anthropics and OpenAIs of the world, but there's are many other model producers, companies involved in competing. Obviously, the DeepSeek news we had back in the day shook the industry short term. What are your thoughts on how models are progressing, and where do you, in your own use, in terms of what model programs that you've used, what do you find best personally?
Yeah, no, and I go back to your last question about the Nigerian financial industry. The financial industry has to be very careful about you talking about Anthropics. They stop that mythos because really these bankers, Fed, and everybody can wait a minute, stop it because these things can be very dangerous for banks, institutions. Also, they stop it. So the financial industry is going to be in a lot of revolution with AI, predictive, but back to industry, what I really hard about things that is going to happen is happening behind the scene is the cybersecurity. That's very important in this AI revolution because you obviously about everybody probably know about this AI agent because they're building this AI agent and that AI agent can do anything. Not only to tell you what time you have your meeting and other things about it, there's a lot of things going on. Some of them are autonomous agents and they can train themselves, so we have to be very careful about in financial industry. Some of these agents can be renegade agents. This is what they can teach themselves. So Anthropics is they're very responsible. Obviously other LLM too, but they are very responsible in that. That's how the foundation of their company came as a responsible AI. And
Yeah.
but you're asking about how they're going to be because now ChatGPT, cloud, and all these other things. But now we're talking about enterprise AI, adoption of the enterprise AI in every day of their companies. That's very important.
Got it. Let's talk a little bit more about the national security side of this argument. Obviously, Anthropic has had to take steps to, and the government has said we don't want these latest, greatest frontier models being in the hands of foreign nationals, period. Do you think that government's going to be standing in the way of AI development? Do you think that they're going to find a way to work together here in the US? And even obviously countries like China are dealing with the same issue, correct?
Yeah, all around the world they can, because as I mentioned, some of these bad actors and fraud and other thing going on. But it's very important for national security that we keep these things in check. That's very important because, but they are doing something. NSA and other people behind the scene. There are a lot of things going on, but still, everyone's responsibility make sure that, and that's in America also too. But it's happening. But we have to guard it. We have the regulation. And it's very important. Compliance is very important. So he's not just some kid out of somewhere in Timbuktu can come to our national security. And that could happen if we don't have that guard built up around this LLM. And that's very important. And things to come, methods and other things that are more stronger. And not only that, some of these agents, they can create something. That's that when they learn themselves, they can put fake news, they can put other things going on. So it's really, you need to be, and I'm going back to that 2001 Odyssey and Stanley Kubrick, because that could happen, really predicted it when, but this could happen with that AI. So we have to guard ourselves as a human, as a national security, as a government, and they are doing, and that I can tell you that they are doing it very much, very careful. And responsible company like Anthropic, and other people, they're very responsible. But you go back to your question and said, how is it going to happen about stopping the technology? You can't stop the technology. These are things that come over there, but you have to be ready for it. And so you don't get surprises, basically. That's very important. And there are people experienced right now with that cyber. We have a lot of experienced people in cybersecurity.
The other question I would have to ask about, especially on the enterprise AI level, is accuracy in the legal profession, financial profession. You can't have an AI program essentially hallucinating or inventing things that aren't real. How does a corporation, what are some guardrails or things that companies need to do if they're incorporating this technology into their business to ensure that what they're getting is accurate? Or do you think that was a problem a couple generations ago and these model makers have generally solved that at this point?
Yeah, no, that's another great question, because the next phase of all these things is enterprise AI. You can't be having a large company and having connection to your whatever you're doing goes to your competitor, other people over there, so they're building this in-house AI algorithm. So it doesn't go there out there. And that's where, yes, you have that LLM, you have that smart enterprise, but we don't want to share it with anybody else, especially. And a lot of companies starting doing this right now. They don't want their employees to go while they're working to the ChatGPT and other. They don't want that over there. So the enterprise AI, they have to have an in-house AI algorithm. That's what's going to happen. And that's very great opportunity for a lot of software companies, a lot of it, so they can build those in-house AI,
Okay. And Sydney, I also have to ask on the enterprise level, metering or the amount of money being spent on tokens and budgets. You read in the media that some of these companies have blown through their token budgets in a matter of months and they were supposed to last years. Do you think that's going to be a greater issue? How do you think companies are going to get around that? And is that something that could derail the growth in the sector if companies, which obviously have the biggest budgets versus just an individual user, decide to be a little bit stingier with their AI bucks?
Yeah, no, that's a very big issue, because every time somebody's in the chat, any of these LLM is create token, and they're short of token. I mean, I wrote the article actually about that, and they're right now. So whatever you do is considered. So it's overspending on the token. It's very important, but we're gonna need these. We're gonna have these. It's not right away. This AI, it was different and which I'm very happy about, because I experienced the totally different. This is no dot bomb. And this infrastructure, those tokens is very important. So if you don't need it now, overspending over there, within a couple of years, we're going to be needing those tokens. We're going to have needing those infrastructures. But obviously, a lot of these companies, they look at the checks and balances, investors. Where is the profit margin? Yeah, that profit margin will show up, because the AI cloud is very important for this. And they're building right now. We have cloud. Whatever thought about the cloud, is going to be a lot of these, but everybody using most of the profit, a lot of these companies is built based by the cloud, not just a subscription based that they have individual, basically. So this is yes, there is a problem overspending, but it's not going to go. We're going to be needing more money in this thing. So I'm all for it.
Okay. Okay. I have to ask, obviously, we just had this enormous SpaceX IPO that was successful, and they have a big AI component to their business. We have OpenAI and Anthropic that have filed confidential SEC paperwork. They'll probably be looking to go public in a few months down the road. And again, going back to what you saw in the dot-com era, when it got to the tail end of that boom bubble, you had five, six companies going public, it seemed like every day. Do you get to the point where you worry about that, or do you think, again, we still have plenty of room to run here? We're only talking about a couple big names so far, and it's not like there's a flood of money hitting the stock market here.
Yeah, no, and that's good because the country doing good. The world is doing good. This technology actually bring a lot of. I go back to what I said earlier: picks and shovels. There's a lot of other industries going to start because of this AI revolution. You're talking about some of these companies. They go into the market, same as Amazon. What happened to Amazon when Amazon showed up? It was $60, $70. When Netflix and all these other people started with it, they're doing something very special, especially XAI, and they're building those data centers in space. That's very, I'm not buying about going to Mars and other things, whether maybe someday happen 100 or 50 years from now, but immediately having data center in space, which is already have satellite and other thing, that's very important because we need that. We need that communication. We need those data centers. So obviously it's cooler in space. There are other things going on. So I buy that. In the long run, it's a short time people buy and sell. I have no advice on that over there. And I'm not any other advice. But as far as of technology reader, I see all these things happening with this AI and obviously with the stock market. OpenAI is going to be soon, and they have a lot of subscription over there. But
Yeah.
how to monetize it? They're starting doing that. They're starting every time you go to ChatGPT, they're starting putting advertisement that over there. But also, Google changing the whole thing. I love Gemini, but how to integrate it to the algorithm, and that's another thing. The revolution is called no click. That's the big term right now. No click.
Okay.
But so it's there. But as for your investors, other people, that you got to be patient. This is a long-term journey, and basically it's going to happen. And some of it is going to happen within a couple of years, basically. We're going to be talking about a lot of them. So I'm all for it. I'm all for it. We have the money. Let's invest on it. This is a great technology. This is a revolution. This is an industry. So I'm all for it.
Okay. Listen, as we get to the tail end of our conversation here, you mentioned you will be joining us in Vegas. I do want to focus in this case on the 2026 Money Show Masters Symposium in San Francisco. That's going to be August 25th to 28th. And we have you there for a topic tentatively being AI and the future of work. If somebody comes to see you, what kind of information are they going to get? What are maybe a few things you can tell them or viewers of this that are considering coming that they're going to get out of that presentation?
Yeah, no, I go to a lot of shows. I speak to different shows, but money shows you have one-on-one, and I love that. Basically, you can bring the best of best people over there, and it's been around not recently. It's been around for 47 years. I used to watch it as a young man. See Louis Kaiser, all these best of the money show, and it's wonderful. This is a the money show. It's an institution, and what they get out of me is honesty. I'm not going to sit down over there. Obviously, I'm not going to give any kind of advice about stock market. That's not my thing. But as far as the technology, as far as what's happened, I have a lot of experience. I can tell. And like I said in this show, and I love Money Show. The people come there. They're wonderful. You guys are best. Hospitality. I love even after hours, networking. It's wonderful. And I look forward to this is the second time I third time come to Las Vegas. Great place you guys have. Also in San Francisco, you're right there with all those tech people. I look forward to San Francisco too. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Okay, wonderful, Sydney. Viewers, if you're watching this, you are going to have a chance to see Sydney again in Las Vegas in July, and then he'll be at the Master Symposium San Francisco, which is August 25th to 28th, and it's going to be at the Fairmont on Nob Hill. If you're familiar with San Francisco, it's a great location. You're going to have plenty of time to enjoy the city after you've been learning during the day on market trends and new investing and trading things to incorporate into your own portfolios. Sydney, thank you so much. Great speaking with you here, and I look forward to seeing you in a few weeks in Vegas.
Thanks, Mike. Have a great day.
Take care.
Audience too.